I love that low B flat. How's it going, everybody? Good to see you guys. Thought that to start out, I would play. I just got my hands on this for the first time since the NAMM show. I got to play this in California in April, but now it's here in the shop. The 7-string line violin by 3D Various. They also have a 6. It's over in a cabinet somewhere. 6 is kind of usually my jam, but 7, well, it was sitting there, so I picked it up. I couldn't help it. But hey, everybody, how's it going? I was hoping to have an interview with somebody today, but that interview is going to be in a couple weeks, and so today I was like, let's just kind of do an AMA, and some of these I will be able to answer, and some of these I will not, because I'm not gonna be like pulling violins out of boxes and setting them up while you guys are watching. That's just bad TV. Nobody wants to watch that. Yeah, let's just start at the top. EDU. So here's the deal: a weight database of different violins. That can be done. It can be done. It is not going to tell you what you think it's going to tell you, though. We did a whole video on this a while back. It's on our YouTube channel. Like, what does a violin weigh, or how heavy is an electric violin? And the answer is I can go ahead and weigh these, and it's fine. But if I weigh this violin and this violin, I can tell you what they each weigh. But that doesn't necessarily tell you what you want to know, because you don't want to know, like, how hard is it to lift in the air, because they're not hard to lift in the air. Even a really, really, really heavy violin weighs 2 pounds, right? So, nope, you don't care what the violin weighs. You can lift 2 pounds. If you can't lift 2 pounds, we got bigger problems than that. What you really want to know is this thing going to wear me out when I play it? And so with acoustic violins, let's pick this one because it's roughly the shape of an acoustic violin. The weight distribution of one acoustic to another is pretty much the same because they're all the same shape, right? And the balance point of an acoustic violin is right about here. You know, it's I don't know, how do I show you? The balance point on acoustic violin is usually right about here. That's where the center of mass is. On most electric violins, the center of mass is way back here. Like, so an acoustic could be out here. On an electric, they're way back here. So an electric violin can actually weigh more than an acoustic and be less taxing to play because all the weight is back here over your skeleton and instead of out here in your hand, right? So if the weight distribution is out here versus here, it's going to be more exhausting to play that instrument. So in this video, we talk about that, and we took a bunch of different measurements, like how far from the end point is the center of mass. And then I think we did a thing where I set the violins out and I put a scale like here. So I've got the violin sitting on a shoulder rest, and then I've got the head of the violin sitting on a scale. So how much does it weigh in your hand? And you can see that there's a dramatic difference. Like a Jordan violin, let me grab a Jordan. Jordan violins are technically fairly heavy overall because there's a lot of wood down here, but the amount of weight in your hand is almost nothing because the center of mass of a Jordan is like back here. I mean, the center of mass is actually inside your body. So there's next to no weight in your hand at all. And yes, it's a little heavier than an acoustic violin, but in your hand, like nothing. So in that video, EDU, if you look for that video in our YouTube channel, I think it's in the YouTube channel. I think it was. What does a violin weigh? There are some charts and stuff in there about what different violins weigh, but it's not just as simple as, you know, throw it on a scale. What's it weigh? It's because it's an apples to oranges comparison between the two different violins. A bridge violin might be lighter than a Jordan violin, but because it's got a head on it, it's going to be heavier in your hand. So hope that makes sense. Faith, what is the difference between an octave violin and a 7-string violin. The sound difference. It's sort of, they're very similar. And I actually have taken my octave violin and detuned it. I took my octave, so an octave violin would be E, A, D, G, C, because 5, nobody plays 4-string violins. That's crazy. So a 5-string octave violin would be right, so it would be E, A, D, G, C. But you can take a 7-string violin, and it's really kind of the same strings. It's just a whole step down. So it'd be A, D, G, C, F, B flat. So the sound difference, very, very, very little, honestly. And I took my 5-string octave violin and detuned it a whole step, just because when I hear this right here, my brain thinks first finger on the D string, and it messes me up to hear that, and to have, it's just open note, like my brain won't process that. So I detuned mine to just basically be the bottom 5 strings of a 7-string, and it's way easier for me to play that way. That's the problem with having a good sense of pitch, is when you hear a note, you know what that note is, and it can kind of jack with you. People are like, oh, perfect pitch must be amazing. Like sometimes it's really helpful if I'm in a band and they start a song and like I can hear what key that's in, but it can also work against you because, like I said, sometimes you'll hear a note and your brain's going to make an assumption, and that assumption is not always a good assumption. So sound difference between a 7-string and an octave violin on the lower 5, on the bottom 5 strings, pretty similar. The difference obviously is that an octave violin is not going to have a high E and a high A. So if you want to play violin-y stuff and cello-y stuff at the same time, you're kind of SOL. It's specifically out of luck. With a 7-string, you can play all your violin stuff that you want to play and all your cello stuff that you want to play. I hope that's helpful. Next question. Sound difference between a jazz fusion and a Viper. Those two couldn't possibly be more different. And I don't have any of that stuff out right now. Maybe later I might be able to get to that. I might be able to get to that later, but I'm not going to like spend 20 minutes getting those instruments out because you guys would all get bored and leave. What is the cheapest 6-string? Okay. It's an interesting question. Cheapest 6-string. I would say I'd have to look on our website. The cheapest that I would recommend would probably be an EVL. There are probably some people out there who make them cheaper, but I wouldn't buy that. Because like people go, oh, it's the cheapest. Well, hell, you can probably get one for $500, but I wouldn't play it. Because, you know, I care about my audience and I want them to have a good experience and I want to have a good experience. Probably the cheapest 6-string that I would recommend would be around $2,000. And I think that's probably the EVL 6-string. And we've got one here. This one is going to be a little bit more because it's got a Barbera on it, but he also makes these with Starfish. I think he also makes these with one of his pickups on them. These are good violins. Yeah, it's a very affordable 6-string violin. I was just talking with Tracy Silverman today. It turns out 6-string is a future. I don't know if you guys know that or not. Tracy's been saying this for 20 years. But we have, I think, 6 or 7 different manufacturers that we work with that make a 6 right now. EVL is one. 3D Various, I just played their 7-string. Glasser makes a 6-string. Obviously, Wood Violins makes a 6-string. Jordan makes a 6-string. Fortevio makes a 6-string. That's 6. EVL, or not EVL, ETJ. All these letters. ETJ makes a 6-string. And I know I'm forgetting somebody. There's at least 7 and maybe 8 makers who make 6-strings. And you're going to see sort of prices ranging from the bottom end of about 2,000 and change dollars and up to 5 or 6,000. And I want to be careful. We're talking like June of 2023 right now. If you're watching this in the future, I got no control over what prices do. I don't really like talking prices on these. I used to. I used to talk prices on these because prices stayed fairly constant for a long time. And then, well, you guys know what happened. The world went crazy. And then prices just, like everybody's prices went nuts. And prices are changing all the time right now. So if you see a violin on our website and you're like, wow, that's at the very top of my price range, you might want to go ahead and buy that, because I can't guarantee that that price is going to be the same price a month from now. Is there a huge weight difference depending on the type of wood? Not huge. No, I mean, like if you were to hold one and hold them up next to each other, maybe. But if you picked one up and then like an hour later picked the other one up, no, you can't tell it. All I'm hearing is I think that database, Nick, I think is in that video. I made a spreadsheet. I did the nerdy thing. I put up a spreadsheet. You guys are supposed to like spreadsheets. No. Do we do online shipping? Yes, we do. Nick, I love you, man. One thing you say about Nick, he's consistent. It's every week. He's that guy. If you ever wondered who that guy is, it's Nick. Nick is that guy. Do you do online shipping? Of course, yes. So we are a functioning music shop, which, the name Electric Violin Shop. We do. You can actually shop here. It's funny. On some of the socials, and I do all of our social media, so it's TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Reddit and like all the places that people go, you would be amazed at the questions that we get. Like people see the wall and they're like, wow, you have an amazing collection of violins. Where do you get them? I'm like, we're here. We're a shop, dude. We sell these things, hence the name. So yes, electricviolinshop.com. You can go to our website and we ship to over 90 countries around the world. I don't know where you live, but we ship all over, obviously all 50 states in the US and over 90 countries around the world. It is free shipping in the lower 48 states in the US. And then obviously not free. I can't ship to like Ecuador for free. But we do the shipping. And then obviously with 90 countries, we can't keep track of everybody's tax laws. So you're going to have to talk to your local customs agent about what the taxes, import duties are. And unfortunately, a lot of people will ask, hey, can you like sort of fudge the paperwork? So, I spent $3,000, but the paperwork says $300, so I only have to pay taxes on $300. No, because like jail is a real place. No, our government would not have any sense of humor about that. So we can't do that for you. I wish we could, but we can't. Mauricio, what's happening, Mauricio? Mauricio is in Brazil. They make these fabulous Aurora violins, these things, and they got lights in them. Whoa, what? Are you kidding me? So they make these Aurora violins and these Oro violins. Love these things. Hey, y'all, by the way, this is one of the best kept secrets under $1,000 right here, is this Oro violin. If you are looking for something under $1,000, which a lot of people are, cannot recommend these highly enough. And they come in a bunch of really cool colors. Here's another one. Same deal. Oro violin. This one is, look, I can see myself in it. Isn't that nice? So yeah, good people. They make good violins. They sound really good. They look really good. They feel good. They smell good. Is that a thing? Are there, oh yeah, great question. Are there any compositions for 5 to 7 string violins? Oh yes, mucho many. Yes, I actually write for 5 and 6 string violin. I've got some stuff on my website, mattbellviolinist.com. Um, David Wallace writes for 5, 6, and 7 string violin. Tracy Silverman writes for 6 string violin. Rudolph Hawken writes for 6 string violin. Mark Wood writes for 6 and 7 string violin. Joe Denizone writes for 6 and 7 string violin. I just played a electric violin concerto for my master's recital. It's a 4 movement concerto written for violin and full orchestra. That is originally written for 7 string, adapted to 6 string because I'm not cool enough to play 7. Yes, there's a lot of stuff written out there for 5 to 7 string violins. 5 especially. There's a ton of people writing for 5. Chuck Bontrager did an arrangement of the Isai Sonata that's extended out to 7 string. Yes, there are lots and lots of compositions for 5 to 7 string violins. Yes, many. What about new maker of 6 and 7 string sets? Yeah, so that is a thing. There are 2 manufacturers that are working on 7 string sets. Neither one of them are quite ready to go to market. They're hoping this summer or late summer, early fall, maybe. Yes, it's coming. So be patient. I know everybody's been really patient for the last year or so. Yes, they are coming. Nobody's quite ready to go to market with those yet. 6 string sets, actually, yes. I should say, I just finished my lunch, sorry. Vision makes 6 string sets, and I've been using the Vision F string for years. I love that. I love their F string. You can get a 6 string set of Vision by Tomastic, and they're wonderful. But there are some people working on 7s as well. Can I show you a 7 string Viper? Boy, I wish I could. There's actually a 6 string in here right now that is in need of some repair. It looks like a Viper. It just doesn't play like a Viper right now. It's Vipers. So here's the deal with Vipers. Vipers, you can get 4 and 5 string Viper Classics are a shelf item. Those things are available. We usually have them in stock. We might be sold out at the moment, but we're always getting more of those in. Viper Classics are more or less a stock item. Anything more than 5 string is a custom order. And with the Viper Classics, you can get white, black, and red, fretless, and with a true tone pickup, which is their house pickup. If you want something other than that, if you want something other than 4 or 5 strings, if you want frets, if you want a Barbera pickup, if you want something other than white, black, or red, did I say that? That is a custom order. And custom orders, there is a bit of a backlog. I don't know if you guys are aware, wood violins, if they didn't have bad luck, they wouldn't have no luck at all. My friend Kenny was one of the luthiers there. He was killed in a car accident a couple years ago. We didn't plan for that. And then shortly after, his friend and roommate and the other luthier, Joe, died of cancer. And then the paint guy got sick. And then there was a global pandemic you guys may have heard about. And then they had to move the shop because it was on a... Anyway, there's a lot of stuff has happened at Wood Violins. They are digging out from the rubble now, and they have got violins coming out of the shop, and the rate is increasing. We're seeing more and more violins coming out of there. Quality is still good. So no, I can't show you a 7-string Viper because those things, if they come into our shop, it's because somebody ordered one a while back. We'll have it just long enough to check it out and send it out the door, usually the same day or the day after. If you want a 7-string Viper, we can help you get one, but you may have to wait a minute because there is a significant backlog on those. Ooh, I like this. I would be very happy if Aurora made a 6-string violin. That would make me very, very happy. Yeah, so I don't know what country you are in, but as long as we ship to your country, every violin that's available to me is available to you. You just may have to pay some shipping and some import duties. But yeah, we ship to 90 countries around the world. So if you would like one of these fabulous electric violins behind me here, that is a thing that we can make that happen for you. Jason, what's going on, man? General consensus to write issuing piano staff for 6 strings. Great question. I love that. That's a fantastic question. So there, like most things with extended range violins, there is no general consensus. Because a lot of us who play extended range also play viola. Most of the sheet music that I've seen for 6-string violin is we use sort of 3 different clefs. We'll use treble, alto, and bass clef. And it's generally wouldn't be piano staff. It would generally be on a single staff, but when you need to switch clefs, you just put that new clef in the staff. So, we'll have treble for 4 bars, and you maybe got 3 notes of bass clef, and then back to treble, and then maybe it's easier to just stay in alto clef for a while because we're going to be sort of in that D, G, C string range for a while. We'll just stay in alto clef for a while. And then maybe we'll go back up to treble, and then, hey, we're down to the F string. It's just easier to notate that with bass clef. No, it's typically not piano staff. It's typically single staff, but the clefs are going to change. Or sometimes we'll use like 8VA or 8BA just to kind of keep from having a 1,000 ledger lines. But great question. What's up, Michael? All right. It's not that I wouldn't want to order a violin for, yeah. So yeah, I understand that. And I get it. And a lot of people, that is why we have the YouTube presence that we have, because not everybody can come to Durham, North Carolina and try these violins out. So we try to have a bunch of information on our YouTube channel that's comparing and contrasting different violins so that people who can't get here can make the most educated decision possible. The good news is we have a 30-day return policy. Unfortunately, if you're overseas, it is a little more problematic to ship one back. But if you spend $3,000 or $4,000 on a violin and you're really not happy with that, and you're like, man, I hate that I'm going to have to spend $300 to send it back, but at least I can spend $300 and send it back. And you're not stuck with a several $1,000 purchase that you're not happy about. So, and then the other thing is, a lot of times if you're going to spend that much money on a violin, it might be worth it to just come here. We've had that happen all the time. I've hosted people that have flown in from Colombia in South America, or we had father and son come over from Germany, and they came here, flew into RDU Airport, caught a 15-minute ride to the shop, spent a day here at the shop, went back to the airport, and flew home. I can probably name a dozen people who've done that from different countries around the world. Just like, I'm willing to spend a bunch of money on an instrument. And then the other thing is, if you spend that money on a plane ticket to come here, you can save yourself the shipping costs because you just carry the violin home with you. And, obviously I can't say that you could maybe sidestep some taxes by saying, hey, I've always owned this violin. But that's kind of on you. You are supposed to declare that thing when you go back into your country. If you don't, that's a decision that you got to make and you got to live with. But it's not uncommon for people to fly here to buy the violin, to try everything out. Because once you look at a flight and you're looking at shipping and taxes and all that, those things start to get pretty close. So, yeah. Ken, what's happening, man? Good to see you, buddy. Liam, how's it going? Grace, let me see. All right. What options are there for shoulder rests for electric instruments? I see some that have it built in. I'm a viola player. I'm going to get my first electric viola in a few months. Congratulations on that. So, shoulder rest on electric instruments. These all look really crazy, right? There's a lot of crazy shapes here, but if you'll notice, most of these, look, there's this thing where you can put your shoulder rest. Your shoulder rest will fit. This one has one built in. NS has it built in. all of these have basic violin shape where you would put your shoulder rest. They are mostly designed for you to be able to use whatever shoulder rest you want. And it's because generally a shoulder rest is a really personal thing for people. People spend years trying to figure out like how to get the right shoulder rest for them. And, you know, manufacturers don't want to mess with that for the most part. NS Design and Jordan are kind of the two that really went, you know what, we're going to pick your shoulder rest for you. And people generally like those instruments, but occasionally you'll get a person who's like, honestly, I just don't like the way it feels on my shoulder. So I love the instrument. I don't like the way it feels on my shoulder. I've got to do something else. But for the most part, Grace, you can use the same shoulder rest that you use on your viola, on your acoustic viola, you'll be able to use on your electric viola, assuming that they're the same size. So wireless, okay. Using the Boss WL20 when the audience size gets big. Well, yeah. Okay, yeah, you discovered the same thing a lot of people have discovered, that the most of the affordable wirelesses out there right now, or the consumer grade wirelesses, I'll say, the stuff that's in the $200 to $300 range, they are in the 2.4 gigahertz range, which is the same frequency as Wi-Fi. And if people are out there with their cell phones or hotspots or whatever, yeah, the RF environment can get very, very crowded in a big crowd, and it will start interfering with these cheaper wireless units. If you need a wireless unit that is more bulletproof than that, you need one that is going to be able to withstand sort of the onslaught of RF when you've got a huge crowd, you're going to have to spend some money. And probably you're going to be looking at $1,000 to $1,500. So we don't do a ton of wireless stuff here. We mostly do sort of the more consumer grade stuff, the couple $100 wirelesses. If you need something a little more bulletproof than that, what I would do, I would call Sweetwater. And it sounds crazy for me to send you in another music shop, but we don't deal with those higher end wirelesses. I would call Sweetwater and sort of explain what your deal is, where you live and where you usually play. The people who work at Sweetwater actually know what they're talking about, unlike people who work at Matar Schmenter or something that rhymes with that. The people who work at Sweetwater actually know what they're talking about. So you can ask them, hey, I'm in Indiana and I mostly tour in the Midwest, and they'll be able to help you decide which frequencies you should be looking at. Hey, I'm in Indonesia and I mostly tour in Southeast Asia. You may be looking at different frequencies that you need. So yeah, strongly recommend those guys. But yeah, if you need something that is not going to be in that 2.4 gigahertz range, you're probably just going to go ahead and have to spend some money. Here's what I do. I have one of the cheaper wireless systems and it works for me 99% of the time. I always have a cable ready just in case. I hate playing with a cable, but playing with a cable is better than not playing at all. So I always have a cable ready. If I'm doing a high profile gig, say I'm going to be sitting in with a major national act, or I'm going to be playing at, a big corporate event where they're spending loads and loads of money, I backline it. So I just tell them, hey, you're going to have to provide me a wireless. And then it is their problem, their frequency, what do you call the roadies, but the frequency management people. Their frequency management people are going to have to deal with it. If it's cutting in and out, that is the them problem, not a me problem. And I like other people having problems, not me. Playing the violin's hard enough without having to worry about, wireless frequencies. So especially on a big gig like that. So for little stuff, which is most of what I've been doing lately, I just use an inexpensive wireless, I have a G50, I have a G10S, both Line 6 products, both in that 2.4 gigahertz range. I almost never have problems. Also, yeah, we're doing questions. Also, I have noticed that some people just have problems with wireless units. And I have a theory on this. There's no science to back it up. This is sort of the Matt Bell crazy theory that I have. I think that certain people have an aura or something about them that makes electronics misbehave. My wife has this. My old lead singer for my last band had this. Stuff around them just does not work. You know, for me, I can press the button, the thing works. They press the same button, it doesn't work. I think there are people that have an aura or something about them that inexpensive wireless gear just cuts in and out. And we could be on the same stage. I could have a unit, they could have an identical unit. Mine works fine, theirs is cutting in and out. I don't know how to explain it other than to say that there's something about them that stuff just doesn't work. If you're one of those people, congratulations, you're very special. You get to spend more money. What is a violin I would recommend for classical music? I see. So here's the deal. I don't recommend any of these violins for any particular style of music. All of these violins in capable hands sound amazing on any type of music that you play. Any of these violins can play classical music. I was at University of Illinois for the last couple of years. People there are mostly playing classical music on electric violins, and they're using a wide variety of instruments. And you know what? They all sound great because they're all great players. So I don't think there's one instrument that is better for classical music than another. That just every person's ear wants to hear something different. And some of these violins are darker and warmer. Some are thicker. Some are thinner. Some are brighter. Some are more nasally. Some have got more mid-range. Like, it's really going to depend very much on what your ear wants to hear. So, no, I think any of these violin, people go, which one's good for rock? They're all good for rock. They're all good for jazz. They're all good for classical. It's just which one is going to kind of feel like home to you. And the one that you are the most comfortable playing is the one that's going to sound best when you play it. So I wish there was a better answer than that, but there's just not. Oh, great question. Is there a benefit to switch to active versus passive? Yes, there's absolutely a benefit to active. And the benefit to active is that it has a lower impedance. And it means, so to talk about impedance means that basically think about your signal having a volume, right? It's got a frequency, that's the tone that it's making, has a volume, which is how loud it is. And then we can think about that signal having pressure. And think about your electronic gear as basically being like a spring-loaded fence. And the signal has to be able to push that spring-loaded fence open. And if it can only push the fence part way open, only some of that signal is going to come through. Think about a stream that's flowing and there's like a sort of a big log in the stream. If the stream has enough pressure behind it, it can push that log out of the way and all the stream's going to come through. If the stream doesn't have a lot of pressure, it can't really push that log out of the way and there's going to be a holdup, right? The water's going to be trickling past it. It's not going to be flowing past it. So impedance is the opposite of pressure. High impedance is low pressure. So a low impedance signal is a high pressure signal. It can push its way through a lot of circuits, and all of your tone, all of your sound, all of your signal is going to be going into your PA, and you're going to sound glorious, and people are going to throw money and hats and whatever. It'll be great. If you have a high impedance signal and you're plugging into something that's not really expecting that, which a lot of stuff isn't, then not all of your signals are going to come through, and it's going to sound weaker or thinner or reedier. So an active violin, which has a preamp in it, and a preamp is a thing that lowers impedance, it's going to increase the pressure of your signal, and you're going to sound better. It's going to sound fuller and fatter and thicker. The downside to having an active violin, like you said, is that you have to power this preamp, and it has to be, in 99% of cases, it's powered with a battery. And you know what batteries do? They die. And they don't die like when you're taking a 64 measure rest. They die in the middle of your highlight solo. That's when they die. So yes, if a battery dies during your performance and you're playing an active violin, you don't have a violin anymore. You got a paperweight that looks like a violin. So I would say that either you got two choices, three choices. You can go with a passive violin that's just always going to work. May not always sound as good as your active violin, but it's always going to sound, and that's good. The other thing you can do is look at one of the NS Design or Realist violins that has what they call instant on, and they can play in passive or active mode. If the battery, it's actually used a supercapacitor, but if the power supply dies in the middle of your performance in an NXT A instrument or a Realist RVPE instrument, then you can just click it off. You go to passive mode. Maybe you've got 90% of your tone, but you're still getting paid. You're still playing. And then the other option is, I've got a big performance. I'm worried about my battery dying. Change your battery, right? It's a big performance and you're worried about a $3 battery. I guess it's not that big a performance. So yeah, I use a lot of wireless gear. I change my wireless batteries out before a big performance. To me, it wouldn't be a whole lot different. Just change the battery in my violin out. I'm changing my wireless batteries out. Might as well change the violin battery too. So yes, there is a benefit to having an active violin. They typically sound better when they're plugged into stuff that isn't expecting high impedance signal, which is most stuff. The downside is the battery can die, but just buy a new battery. If it would be a big deal for the battery to die, then it wouldn't be a big deal to buy a new battery. Does that make sense? Which violin do I recommend for beginners? Just like they're not separated out by genre, they're also not separated out by ability. It's not like, oh, that's an expensive violin. It's not for beginners. Or that's an entry-level price violin. It's a $700 violin. It's not for professionals. All of these violins would be great for a beginner. All of these violins are great for professionals. All of these are quality instruments, and they're not separated out by ability. I know, I'm guessing, I don't know that much about golf, but I know golf, like a more flexible shaft is maybe better for a beginner because you don't have the club head speed that a pro has. It isn't like that with violins. I would say for a beginner, I would probably stick with 4 strings. But apart from that, no, any of these violins are great for beginners. It's the one that speaks to you. The one that makes you want to play is the best violin for you. That's the one. Great question, though. Is Yamaha brewing new models for violin? Probably. They don't generally talk much about that. And if they do talk to me about that, I'm not allowed to talk to you about that. So the answer, as far as all of us are concerned, is when Yamaha has a new violin out, we'll let you know. Oh, Ray, you're coming to MW Rock. Hell yeah. Awesome. What to bring to MW Rock besides your electric violin? You're going to want to have an amplifier. Do you guys know what MW Rock is? MW Rock is the Mark Wood Rock Orchestra Camp. It is the happiest place on earth. I miss my son's birthday every year to be at this camp. That's how much I love this place. I love my son. Sorry. I'm actually bringing him this year. He's going to be 16. He's a sound and lighting tech. He's going to come and do a bunch of work. He's the best tech I've ever had. And I'm going to be really bummed when he goes off to college in a few years. Bring some sort of amplifier, and keep in mind that it's going to be you and like 100 other people there. And if you've got like a small battery powered amplifier, that'd be great. Will make your life a lot easier. Something like an S1 Pro, a Bose S1 Pro. Bring caffeine because we don't sleep a lot that week. It's being around all these amazing and inspiring people. Like, I could go to sleep, or I could hang out with a violinist from Kansas. So you're probably not going to sleep much. Bring a great attitude. Yeah, just that. Bring your instrument, bring some sort of amplification because you are going to need that. They're not going to provide amplification for you. Bring a great attitude and just expect to go home and sleep for about 3 days. Yeah, but I'm glad you're coming, man. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, I figured Jason's special, man. If you guys don't follow Jay Violin, you really should do that. Fantastic player, fantastic human being doing a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, it's a thing. There are people out there who just wireless and them just don't get along. Oh, we got another one. Yeah, it's a thing. There are. You're just gonna have to find one that works for you. If you're one of those people, I'm lucky. For me, just pretty much everything I plug into seems to work, and yeah, it's great. Yo, oh Corey, what's happening? Corey, thank you, and thank you guys for making great instruments. Excited about that. NS Design, really, really, man, their customer service is amazing. Their instruments are amazing. Good stuff. One question, do we have the Spectra light kit to this one right here? Yes, we do. So Spectra Violins is actually a local business to us. If you're in Durham, North Carolina, which you should be, it's a locally owned business. And looky here, if the battery's not dead, I wonder if somebody maybe left this thing on. Oh, no, they didn't. Woo, looky there. That is bright, buddy. Cycle through all the different brightnesses. Cycle through some colors. I don't know what all these buttons do. I should probably learn what all these buttons do. But this lighting, they make violins, but they also make a aftermarket add-on that goes on top of the YEV, because so many people, the YEV is our best seller by a lot. So lots of people already own it. It's a fantastic instrument at a great price. And he's like, well, why don't I just make an aftermarket thing? People do this in the car business all the time. You can buy rims for your truck or whatever. I would never. But yeah, so the lighting kit is here. One of the cool things about this lighting kit, it can do sound active playing. So you can set it to when you play, it reacts to your playing. Or even better, it's got wireless DMX control. So if you've got a good LD, a good lighting designer, a light tech, they can put a dongle on the violin, and then your violin becomes part of their light show. They can program it as a fixture. And as you know, the things are all strobing and changing colors, your violin can be doing all that too. And then, whew, look at you, you're very special. And maybe you take a solo and all the lights in the place black out, but your violin lights up pink or something. I don't know. That'd be amazing. So, hey, Stephanie, what's happening? You were here Monday, and we recorded a TikTok while you're here, and I'll probably post that tomorrow. So, yeah, awesome. What items do I recommend for electric classical violin? Yeah, so again, it depends on what you want to do. There aren't that many rules. And when I play classical music on electric violin, I sometimes play with a nice clean sound that would make Bach very happy. Don't really care if he's happy, he's dead. But frankly, he wouldn't have cared. He wouldn't want me to try to make him happy. He'd be like, I don't know, come up with your own ideas, dude. He was a creative guy. A lot of times I play clean, but a lot of times I don't. So I would say that if you're going to be the kind of person who wants to use effects in classical music, which baller, if Mozart had access to effects, you bet your butt he would have used them. And honestly, if their music is any good, you should be able to kind of mess around with it and it'll still be good. This is actually one of the things that producers will talk about. I'm trying to remember who was Rick Rubin was talking about this. And if you don't know who Rick Rubin is, Google Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin was talking about he doesn't like the fact that a lot of people are bringing their demos in to him of pop and rock songs that are already really well produced. He goes, because sometimes it can be so well produced that you don't notice that it's a crappy song. If they bring it in, it's just an acoustic guitar and a microphone. It's pretty obvious if it's a good song or a crappy song. He says, if it's a good song, I can do anything to it and it's still going to be a good song. So I can take a great song, I can take Imagine, and I can do it as a ballad. I can do it as a rock song. I can do it as a reggaeton. I can do anything with it because it's an amazing song. If Bach and Beethoven and Mozart and Stravinsky and all these people are actually good writers, which they are, then you should be able to do just about anything to their music and it will still be good. So, and you can, by the way. So what items do I recommend for electric classical violin? It depends on what you want to do. I have a friend at University of Illinois who mostly does pitch shifting with his. He uses an octave down pedal, and it sounds incredible. And he's playing Baroque music, stuff that's 400 years old, and playing this music on an electric violin with an octave down pedal into a subwoofer, and it is glorious. It's amazing. Again, Chuck Bontrager, my classmate at Illinois, is doing lots of stuff with distortion and delay with classical music, with the Telemann canonic sonatas. He's doing that with a really cool delay pedal. So again, there's not anything that I would say, oh, you're playing classical, you must have this, or oh, stay away from that. You can do anything you want to do. So I would say just be as creative as you want to be. And if some of the old timers don't like it, good. How you like that? No. Unfortunately, no. They're not good. Sorry. You might get lucky. So here's the thing about price on instruments. And we had an old luthier named Ted, who was a guitar player, he said, the price of an instrument gives you an idea of what the rate of incidence of a good one is going to be, right? So he would say like a $200 guitar, about 1 out of every 10 of those guitars is going to be a good one, right? Somebody got lucky that day. They're slapping together this $200 guitar, and most of them kind of crappy because they're $200. But sometimes that guy's going to have a good day and he's going to get lucky, and there's going to be a good one. With $2,000 guitars, 10 out of 10 are going to be good. So it's kind of like that with violins once you get below about $700. And 700 is where the kind of the price floor is that we've noticed on electric violins. If it's less than $700, it's probably you're rolling the dice. Above $700, we will stand behind any of those instruments, and that's why we'll sell them. If it's a $400 violin, there's maybe a 50-50 chance that you're going to get a good one. And we're not going to send any garbage out the door. So if we got a bunch of these $500 violins, half of them are going to go out to the customers and the other half they're not. So then what happens to me? I'm stuck with a crappy violin. That's why we don't carry them. So could you buy a Stag that works and sounds good? You could, but I can't guarantee it. If you buy a YEV, I'll guarantee it. And we put our money there. If you get a YEV and there's something wrong with it, we will absolutely replace it. If you get a cheap violin, a Cecilia or a Stag or one of those that they're kind of a lower price violin, and you get one that's a crapper, we're not going to replace it because like every other one is or more is not. I mean, by the time you're buying 2 Stags to get a good one, you could have just bought a Yamaha and had something that's guaranteed to be good. So that's my personal opinion. Awesome. Very cool. You're talking about powering your box on there? I think so. Pete. Yeah, I actually like passive as well. I've been playing passive violins for 25 years. Viper is my weapon of choice, and they're all passive. It's just the instrument I like. It happens to be passive. I use my own gear always. I don't plug in I'm plugging other people's PA, but I always bring at least my own rig. I've got a little fly rig that fits in my backpack that at a minimum, I'm bringing my rig. And I know how to make it sound good. So yeah, I don't know if I prefer passive or not, but I prefer an instrument that happens to be passive. Timothy goes the other way. It's funny, those two comments were back to back. Pete's like, nah, I got to be passive. And Timothy's like, nope, got to be active. And both of those guys sound great when they play. So there you go. You've got, there's no wrong answer. Well, actually, that's not true. I'll say there's 100 right answers and there's 1,000 wrong ones. So yeah, Pete and Timothy both always sound amazing. They come at this from different angles. Pete likes passive, Timothy likes active. They both sound good. I've also heard people sound bad with good instruments, and it's usually because they can't play. Did I say that out loud? Pete, what's happening? Pete's the guy who makes these EVL violins. This one right here, and I showed you another one a minute ago. Pete makes great violins. We got to get another dragonfly in here soon, I think, Pete. We need to talk about that. Passive instruments with an external preamp, or just, use a Barbera, because that's the thing. Yeah, a Barbera is a passive pickup, and it's a high impedance pickup, but for some reason they just seem to power their way through. And part of it is because a Barbera is so beefy that even if it is kind of choked off, it still sounds good. Yeah, even when a Barbera has an impedance mismatch, it still sounds good. No, yeah, ask another question. What the hell? I'm at work. I'm on the clock. I'll answer your question. Have an Aurora acrylic body, LED lights. Have a problem with the shape in your shoulder rest. Ah, yes, this is common. This instrument, which I really, really like this instrument a lot. If they made a 6-string, what I actually like this shoulder rest with this instrument. Normally, I'm a Kuhn guy, but for Auroras, I will almost always pick up a Wolf. And it's just because they tend to work on this shape a little better. And this one's bent, which is probably why it's sitting out. But the Wolf shoulder rest seems to grab onto this instrument a little better. And I think it's because this acrylic is kind of thick here, and the Wolf has got like bigger grippers on it. So yeah, that's a good question, and I actually do have an answer for that. So yeah, I like the Wolf shoulder rest on these Aurora violins. Normally, I'm a Kuhn guy, and that's just my personal preference. It doesn't mean it's better. It means that that's what some crazy redhead guy likes. You guys are asking great questions. Thank you for doing all this. So for guitars, all right. For guitars, I know about different thicknesses and low tuning get dark and heavy tones. The same apply to violin. So yeah, good question. Violinists don't really do like guitar players. Hey, do you play 9s or 10s or 13s? I'm not on cocaine. I can't play 13s. That's a Stevie Ray Vaughan thing. Stevie Ray Vaughan, back when he was a cokehead, was playing 13s, dude. 13, it's like a cable. And when he got clean, he stopped doing drugs. He couldn't play 13s anymore. They just tore his hands up too bad. So he went back to 12s. And there is a belief among a lot of people and a lot of good players like Stevie Ray Vaughan that when I go heavier strings, I get heavier tone. And then you ask a guy like B.B. King, we can't ask him anymore, but somebody had asked B.B. King back in the day, oh, how big a string are you playing? You always got this super fat tone. You playing like 12s? He goes, bro, I use 9s. Like, why do you want to work that hard? I don't want to work that hard. No, BB just figured out how to make a fat tone by using his hands and his soul. So there's one school of thought that yes, the size string does affect your tone, yes. But there's another school of thought that like, why don't you just figure out how to make that tone with your hands, dude? Why do you want to work that hard? No, violinists, we don't have like different gauges of strings per se. We'll have different tensions. There's low, medium, high tension strings. I'm sort of a medium tension guy. I try to get most of my tone right here and here. Yes, detuning actually does. I think detuning a half a step on a violin is not terribly tricky, not hard to do. And then I mentioned earlier, my octave violin, I actually tuned down a whole step. And it's not because it's given me better tone. It's because my brain just deals better with an open D string than an open E string down there. Yeah, you can generally tune down about a half a step on a violin without a whole lot of trouble. You tune more than a half a step with a violin. Sometimes the strings start getting floppy, and then you got other problems. I play a Barbera pickup, so I don't have to worry about heavy. I got heavy all day long. I'm actually sometimes cutting bottom end out of the instrument because it almost has too much. So, but no, that's a great question. That is one of those things that doesn't really translate from guitar to violin. Have I played on the different series of Arcus bows? Yes. I personally own a P6, and we have a P and a T in the shop right now. I played like 3 of them when they first came in, and the P was the one that spoke to me. I don't know that like playing in the shop for me isn't the best place to test out bows. I like doing it on stage, and I don't know that I could really articulate why I liked the P better. I just liked the P better. So that's the one that I've got. I'm not like, I guess I am kind of a bow snob now, but I'm probably not the best guy to ask about bows. Like Earl, I would ask Earl Akiva. I would ask Earl about the different Arcus bows because he's really more, that's really kind of more his thing. Presented without comment. Yes, we have a TikTok. Yes, you should definitely follow us on TikTok. We share different stuff on TikTok than we do in other places. Actually, our YouTube Shorts is very similar to our TikTok. A lot of the same stuff, but not always exactly the same. Do I use expensive strings on electric violin? Unfortunately for my wallet, yes, I do. The good thing is because I work here, people tend to give me stuff. No, yeah. So here's the thing, and this goes back to a really important philosophy thing on violin, because this question actually reveals a lot. It reveals that people think that you can polish a turd, and you cannot, in fact, polish a turd. It's going to smear every time. So my advice, and I'm a sound engineer too, always start with the source. Say if I've got a drum sound and the drum sound is bad, a lot of engineers will sit back there and start turning knobs and trying to fix, oh, let's fix the EQ, or let's fix the gate, or let's fix this, No. Get off your butt and walk to the stage and see if you can get the drum tuned right, see if you can get the mic aimed right and placed right. See, let's start with the source. Because I always want to start as close to the source as possible. And the better my source is, the better my finished product is going to be. You'll hear people go, oh, we'll fix it in the mix. No, never do that. Never fix it in the mix. That's garbage. You got to send good stuff into the board. If you're, I got this, oh, we'll fix it in the mix. We're not going to fix it in the mix. What we're actually going to do is mute you and hire somebody who's better than you to play that part. Ask me how I know. I've done that to people. Had a whole album that a guy who just knew in his heart that he was on that album was not on that album. We left him in the credits. We hired somebody to come in and replay all his parts. We paid them a bunch of money. We didn't credit them. And because this person, oh, we'll fix it in the mix. Yeah, we'll fix it in the mix. All right, we'll replace you. No, don't use cheap stuff because you're trying to save money and, oh, I'll just EQ it later. Nope. It's not, that's never going to get you where you want to go. Always get the best sound that you can get coming out of your instrument and then work with that. But yeah, trying to polish a turd is just, man, it's just heartache is all that is. So, oh man, what's the best preset to sound good on a Viper? My presets, duh. Yeah, I'm a Helix guy. I like using the Helix. And one of the cool things about the Helix or the HX Stomp, I have both, that you can send people your presets. And I have a pack of 16 presets that I sell. And those are the best sounding ones to me. I mean, you ask Matt Bell which one sounds the best. What do you think Matt Bell's going to tell you? Again, all of these things, anytime you see the word best, you got to know that there's no such thing as best. It's what sounds good to you. But I do sell a pack of presets, and I've sold many, 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 many of these things, and I've received nothing but positive feedback on it. Maybe there's a bunch of people out there trash talking my presets. I don't know. They haven't told me about it. But yeah, people have been very happy with the presets that I've sent them, and there are people on very large stages using my preset pack. So that's my personal opinion. I think mine sound pretty good. If I didn't think they'd sound good, I'd fix them. That's always a funny thing. You'll ask your front of house guy, right? You come out after the show. Hey, how did it sound out here? He's like, good. If I didn't think it sounded good, I would have changed it. Of course, your front of house guy thinks it sounds good. You might be like, your playing was garbage, but it sounded good because it was my mix. Yes. Does Volta make violas? No, they do not make violas. I won't say that he wouldn't make a viola, but here's sort of where the problem is with electric violas. Most people who play viola also play violin. And so a lot of violists are going to be happy with a 5-string violin. And sort of the cool thing about violas is that they sound deeper and thicker, and you can just make your electric violin sound deeper and thicker. That's not hard to do. You just cut some highs. It's not hard at all to make an electric violin sound like an electric viola. You just scoop some highs out. That's pretty easy. So there's a fairly small market of people who don't want to, of violists who don't want to play a 5-string violin. Most violists are just going to be happy with a 5-string violin. So a very few people are like, nope, I actually want an electric viola. And among those very few people, they will want a 15 or 15 and a half or 16 or 16 and a half or 7. So we'll take an already small market and we chop it up into like 6 different sizes. And now you're talking about, what am I going to sell? One of these every 3 years? Most manufacturers are like, dude, I'm unable to even. I can't even. So now there's just not that many electric violas. Yamaha makes one. I'm looking at them on the wall. NS Design makes one. Glasser makes them. Zeta makes them rarely. EVL makes them. Volta has not so far. And I won't say that he wouldn't, but most violists are just going to be happy with a 5-string violin. Yeah, this is where I'm at, Timothy. I got into music because I'm lazy. I mean, it's not working out great, but it's just, why you want to work that hard? That's why I'm playing electric. I don't want to have to beat that thing to death. If I want to be loud, I'll just turn it up. Yes, absolutely. There's a bunch of guys who have massive tone that use teeny tiny strings. Speaking of strings, yeah, we did actually cover this a minute ago, Pete. There are some people making B-flat strings right now in the prototype stage. None of them have authorized me to say that they are coming to market with those imminently. I got my hands slapped a little bit because I might have mentioned that. They are coming. The best estimate that we have from the people that are making them are late summer, early fall. So coming, it's not too far off, but hopefully not too far off. Correct. Yeah, you can cover it up, but you can't fix it. Yeah, if you got garbage in, garbage out. I EQ the same way I vote, early and often. I vote early and often. I EQ early and often. I will EQ my signal right as it's coming into my processor, and then after I run it through a given block in my Helix, sometimes I'll EQ it again. Sometimes I'll EQ it in the block. A lot of the blocks have some EQ in them, and then I'll put an EQ after that, and I'll put another EQ at the end. EQ early and often. It's just like voting. Is there an echo in here? Awesome. Do I have a source for F strings? Yes, absolutely. Tomastic. Yep, Tomastic use them. Tomastic makes a really fantastic F string. It's my favorite F string, actually. I want a Volta violin. Well, like this one? No, we don't have any. I actually don't know if this one is considered in stock or not, but it's on the counter, so I grabbed it. Also we have this one. Here's a Volta violin too. You guys may not recognize this one. It's got LED lights. I don't know how to make them come on. Probably let the battery die on this one. But it's got LED lights on it, and it's cool. All right, I'm getting tired. My voice is starting to fray, so I'm gonna probably cut off very soon. But it looks like I'm near the bottom of the questions anyway. Yeah, we're getting toward the end anyway. Yeah, I have not had too much time with the quad cortex. I know Chuck has, but I have not. So, man, this has been a lot of fun. And actually, I started running out of, I ran out of good about the same time I ran out of questions. So it's been awesome. Next week, I think next week, let me grab my phone. La la la. Yes, next week, next Wednesday, 7 days minus 1 hour from now, we are going to be doing a play along class with Christian House. Christian is going to virtually join us, and I'm going to put some information out there probably tonight or tomorrow. Christian House is going to be teaching a class, and if there's going to be a bunch of play along charts and all that sort of stuff, and you should get those. So if you sign up, I'll put up links and all that in the link that I put up tonight or tomorrow, that you can download the sheet music and all that, and then you can attend the class and play along and everything. Yeah, awesome. Well, honestly, you should buy all the instruments, because I went to an Indigo Girls concert the other night. My friend Lyris Hung plays for the Indigo Girls, and Guitar World back there had literally 50 guitars, at least 50 guitars. And the stars of the Indigo Girls, they were playing a different guitar on every song. And by golly, violinists should be able to have that kind of fun too. In fact, I know Jesus Florido actually tours with 5 electric violins when he tours. So yeah, there's no reason that you shouldn't have all of these. And you go, well, I like this one for that song, and I like this one for that song, and I like this one for the other song. And yeah, man, do it. Get them all. Collect the whole set. So yeah, next Wednesday is going to be a Christian House class. I'm really looking forward to that one. Can't wait to do it. And yeah. What did I do to my shoulder? I donged my shoulder. I was chasing my kids around my yard about dusk, and I couldn't see. And I ate it. And I don't know if I broke my collarbone or not, but it looks really bad. And I can barely lift my arm. And there's stuff in, it's like things are crunching in there right now. So I'm a man. I don't usually go to the doctor. I'm going to see what happens. If my arm falls off, you'll know why. So I can still play. So that's all that I care about. So yeah, that's what happened. When you get old, these things happen. So whatever. I guess the alternative is to die young, and only the good die young, so I'm safe. So awesome. You guys, thanks for hanging out. I will see you next week for the Christian House class. Look for that link. We're going to be sharing it all over the place. And then in a couple weeks, we're actually going to have the CEO from Trala, the Trala app, where all over the world people are learning how to play violin with a virtual teacher. Joshua Bell is one of their faculty members. I've done some content for them. They've got some really fantastic teachers, but the CEO of the Trala app is going to be joining us, and we're going to be talking about technology and violin and yeah, good stuff. So there are some really, really cool live streams coming. And then in between all the cool ones, It'll just be me talking to you. So, sorry. Me and my busted shoulder. All right. Peace. See you guys next week with Christian House. Woo!